Welcome back. Dr. Iraj Abedian is an economist based in South Africa, but we're going to be looking at the story making world headline news. And that, of course, is the issue of Iran having sent missiles and drones to Israel in their retaliatory attack. And of course, the big question then is how is this going to impact on the global market regarding oil prices? A very good morning to you, Dr. Iraj. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the invitation and greetings to all our listeners.
Lovely to have you on the show. Are you concerned about the situation?
Of course, as an economist, as somebody who follows sort of on a daily, hourly basis, the impact of all kinds of geopolitical issues on the South African economy, on the African economy, and the global economy, and bearing in mind that all of these are interrelated and inseparable, I'm extremely concerned about what has been happening over the past few months in the Middle East, and that has profound implications potentially for the global economy and for the welfare of many, if not all the nations.
And I guess we can't discount the situation of Russia and the Ukraine situation. That's also ongoing. I think when that war started, that invasion started, the global I think we as global citizens imagined or hoped it would kind of phase out within a couple of weeks or a couple of months, but it's just absolutely ongoing. That too, even though that story has gone under the radar for now, because the Palestine story is top of mind, top of news, making really world news. And the impact it's had and is continue having on all of us all around the world. The Ukrainian story is still also continuing to make an impact. If we take the two issues jointly, and let's assume that this situation, let's assume Israel might retaliate, what sort of scenario are we going to be seeing, not only politically, but economically as well?
Yeah, I'm glad, Julie, that you're linking the two, or you're discussing and conceptualizing the issue that we face in parallel, because the invasion of Ukraine and the subsequent developments meant that the price of fertilizers shot up, the price of a lot of petrochemicals and food production, grain, wheat in particular, and a lot of seed oils that we import from Ukraine. All these prices, and therefore the price of food globally, but particularly in Africa and in the northern and southern part of Africa, has gone up and stayed up, a double-digit increase. And the impact of the inflationary impact of that particular war, and I'm not referring to or discounting the humanitarian and the welfare impact on Ukrainian and Russians and others, just purely from an economic point of view, the impact of it strongly in the global economy. Prices have remained high. Food production globally still suffers from high fertilizer prices, high input diesel fuel that came from Russia. So that is still very much with us, and the result of it has been and will continue to be a upward pressure on the price of food production, and therefore the retail price of the poor, and immediately price of food, and immediately the poor are the hardest hit. Then hot on the heel of that, now we have a new explosive situation in the global economy, that not only the Russian oil and gas is not freely available in the global economy, but also potentially 40% of the Middle Eastern oil, which on a daily basis, 40% of the global oil supply, which comes from the Middle East, potentially can be disrupted. And it will be a gradual process, and it will keep the prices of oil not only volatile, but on an upward trajectory, on top of the shortages that come from the Russian and Ukrainian war. So we then have a situation that the prices stay higher for much longer, because these impacts geopolitically, from an economic and cost of production point of view, they compound each other. We've already seen, for example, the Middle Eastern tension between Israel and Iran has created tensions and blockages in the Red Sea, which means a lot of products are now cannot be delivered on time, on budget, is longer, more expensive. And these products can be food or it can be ingredients for our computers or for our factories and whatever else we want to use. So all of that means at the end of the day, these tension and these confrontations increase not just uncertainty and increase volatility in the global markets, but at the sort of cutting edge of it, it increases the cost of production. It keeps inflation going high and staying high for longer. And when that happens, not only people suffer, but then they also suffer at the level that central bankers are not in a position to cut interest rates. So then as people, we get caught in two processes. One is the prices remain high, and then the cost of capital goes high or stays higher, and then the economy crunch doesn't expand or in some cases contracts or is not able to create new opportunities, new investment, new jobs, and new income. All of that then combined creates a very, very depressing impact on the global economy.
So we here in South Africa are a couple of weeks away from our upcoming elections. And one of the key issues in South Africa is unemployment. We're sitting with a very high youth unemployment rate. This is going to play into the global market as well. And the current situation in the Middle East and the Ukrainian situation all collectively impacts hugely, not only us in here in South Africa, but all around the world. But let's focus on South Africa. What do you suppose the situation is going to look like? Possibly even bleaker than what we're seeing right now?
Absolutely. There's no way to get away with it, unfortunately. I wish, and we all wish, that we could have a different prospects, but the welfare of nations are inseparable at the moment, no matter who says what and what ideology we want to subscribe to. What is undeniable and inescapable is that our welfare is connected with the Middle East with North Africa with North America, China, etc., etc. And in South Africa, we already had a structurally high unemployment, high level of poverty, high level of food poverty. And therefore, the economy is now going to be hardest hit, doubly hit, multiply hit by the fact that it cannot pull itself out of this ditch because energy prices are high, food prices are high, interest rates remain high, and government is in a serious bind, and the businesses are in a bind. And especially small to medium businesses are particularly in a bind. They cannot expand, and if they do not expand, then new jobs are not created, unemployment remains higher, and you know the impact of that, and that leads to further social instability, crime, theft, and all kinds of other undesirable social impact. So I think in South Africa, we had big problem before Ukraine, before Middle East, and now our problem has been compounded by the collateral damage or consequences of these ongoing tensions geopolitically.
Okay, despite everything that you've just unpacked now, I want to refer to a report that was filed yesterday. I'll share it with you, and I quote, however, in early deals today, April 15, which was, of course, yesterday, oil prices experienced a decline at the start of trading in Asia as marketplace reduce risk premiums following Iran's attack in retaliation on Israel over the weekend. Brent futures for June delivery dropped by 24 cents to $90.21 a barrel, whilst West Texas Intermediate futures for May delivery fell by 38 cents to $85.28. What do we read into that?
I think two things. One is that you must be very careful not to be reading too much into intraday, intra-week price movements. Because you could have a situation where a lot of traders are sitting on a lot of supplies, they have to offload it, they run out of storage, and they're happy to do it because they know that all of what we just discussed, unfortunately, means a contraction in the global activity, which means lower demand for oil, lower demand for commodities, lower prices for commodities, interestingly enough. So the issue is that intraday, intra-week is not my concern. My concern is if the situation is allowed to escalate, and we have seen a dramatic escalation in the past couple of days, because of direct attack on both sides. Therefore, that will inevitably lead to a cutoff of 40% or up to 40% of the global oil, and that the impact will come in 2, 3, 4 months. Much like when Russia invaded Ukraine, the price of fertilizer collapsed a little bit, but 3 months later, it shot up by 95%. And since then it's been coming down, but nowhere close to what it used to be. So I think what we read, or what I read into what you just quoted, is that yes, intraday, intra-week traders are positioning and repositioning, but also they can see that looking 6 to 9 months to 12 months, it is highly likely that the price of oil may actually come down because demand for it will collapse, or not will collapse, will dramatically contract. That's a better term. Because the impact of this tension will mean a much lower global GDP, coming with misery and social impact, but from purely demand point of view in the commodities market, the price will contract without a doubt. But will it contract as much as the supply will contract? I very much doubt it. Therefore, the price will resume on the upward plus the risk premium.
What needs to happen to stabilize the situation in the Middle East? And as an economist and economists all around the world,
Mm.
you need to keep your eye on the political situation as well, because it impacts on your work and your worldview regarding economics.
I think most of my colleagues in the economics field are convinced that the problems of the 21st century needs 21st century solutions. We cannot resolve issues of national, regional, geographic, religious, or any other confrontation that we have with guns and with missiles and with bombs. Those days have long gone. And yet, for some or other reason, our dominant political layers right across the globe, in the East and the West, they still hold on to resolving issues, dealing with risks and claims on all kinds of issues through guns, so to speak. And that is what the economists propose. Get to create a stability, to create predictability, to reduce volatility, and to reduce tension, so that the people get on with planning their businesses, running their businesses, minimizing the cost of transactions, which means trade becomes much more predictable, which means prices come down, and nations focus on activities that improves their welfare, as opposed to nations spending a lot of their resources, hard-earned resources, on guns and bullets and shooting and blowing it in the air. If you look at during the past 48 hours or so, the Israeli crowd, the American and UK and so on, is purported. This is just reading the estimates at the moment. They have spent $1 billion over a couple of hours to shoot down close to $300 to $400 million of Iranian hardware in the air. So what have humanity achieved? They've spent 1.5 billion rand of hard-earned resources to blow it in the air. And that is not good for the global economy. That's not good for the welfare of nations, be they in Palestine, be they in Israel, be they in Iran or UK or US or wherever else. Economists' approach to these issues is do not waste resources. Resources are scarce. Incomes are scarce. Needs and social needs are plenty. Direct these hard-earned resources, scarce resources, for dealing with the problems of food security, the problems of unemployment, the
Absolutely.
problems of poverty alleviation. That's the economist approach, and that's the framework within which economists are trained to think.
However, Dr. Iraj, we do know that the Americans are very reliant on the armaments industry. And if that shuts down and we don't have any wars, we're going to have millions of people out of work. But then we could argue as humanitarians that we could find alternative solutions for those unemployed youth. I mean, armaments is not, it's about killing people, it's about annihilating humanity as a whole. Your thoughts?
Exactly. Absolutely. I mean, it's not just Americans, by the way, who are dependent on their military complex. Russians, Chinese, British, German, you name it. And to some extent, other countries. And they are joining the race, so to speak. Armament, by definition, is designed to kill, designed to blow things up by design. It's not as if somebody can misuse it. No, it's designed to do that. Therefore, we need to sit back as rational human beings and say, well, what are we doing? What is this all about? And if that industry, and I'm not for a moment suggesting that industry must shut down, but 90+% of it is totally redundant for today's social economic welfare of nations. So what would happen to all those engineers and those thousands upon thousands who are so-called employed by these industries across the globe? Believe you me, if we use those human ingenuities and creativity and intelligence and expertise at the service of dealing with the welfare of human beings, with issues of health, with issues of education, with issues of lack of infrastructure, with the issues of improving environment, with the issues of creating peace and comfort within and across nations, you will be short of people. Those people will not be unemployed, trust me. And that is, again, as an economist, you look at limited resources and you have two choices. You either divert those resources, and by resources I don't mean just money and minerals, but also human resources, very important. You either dedicate them to the production of destructive hardware, or you use the same resources to create a productive and constructive outcome. And my submission is that if we do that, there will be more peace on planet, there will be more prosperity, and far, far less, if any, misery and suffering.
Dr. Iraj, may I ask you to please indulge us for a few minutes longer, please? We need to go for an ad break, and I have 2 or 3 very other important questions to ask you. The budgets that governments spend on arming themselves to their teeth. The other issue as well that I'd like to unpack with you as an economist is the issue around cryptocurrencies. How is the current situation going to impact on that, and aging populations in the Western world? So let's answer all of that right after the ad break. Thank you.
Sure.
Day by day. This is Salam Media.
You know, it's a wonder how kids get anything done these days. With all the distractions, when do they even get time to study? As a mother, all I can really do is make sure they have all they need to perform at their best. That's why I choose to include Sunfoil, triple refined pure sunflower oil with every meal I make. Naturally cholesterol-free and approved by the Heart and Stroke Foundation as part of a balanced eating plan. So whether I'm cooking, frying, or baking, I know every dish will be a wholesome one. Sunfoil, now we're cooking.
After the recent attacks on Gaza, many families have been displaced, with their homes left destroyed. Through your donations, our teams are on the ground in Gaza, providing support and delivering necessary aid to families affected. The people of Gaza need your help. Give hope. Donate today to Penny Appeal South Africa. www.pennyappeal.org.za 031 1100 573.
We are here on the ground with many appeal organizations in Gaza.
Discover the Africa of your dreams and surround yourself with her spectacular beauty. Relax beneath her serene sunsets and explore wildlife at its natural best. It's where the pride of Africa comes together. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve. Get to know the Big Five or cruise on an elephant safari game drive. Interact with lion and tiger cubs and enjoy world-class halal cuisine while we pamper you during your 5-star stay. Indulge in the true African experience. For reservations, call now on 042-203-1400 or visit kwantu.co.za. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve, the place of gathering.
Are you ready for a journey of spiritual significance? Join Khidmatul Awam Pilgrim Services for an unforgettable Umrah experience during Dhul Qa'dah. Walk in the footsteps of the Hujjaj, guided by esteemed scholars Mulana Dawood Samson and Mulana Muhammad Silaji. Our Dhul Qa'dah package departs on May 10th and returns on May 25th via Egypt Air out of Johannesburg. Experience 9 nights in the blessed city of Medina and 5 nights in the sacred city of Mecca, with packages starting from just 27,500 rands. Enjoy a fully guided tour, including Umrah visa, Jumu'ah prayers in both harams, seamless transfers, and enriching ziyarats. Feel free to visit our offices nationwide and speak to our knowledgeable consultants, or simply contact us at 010-6005-786. Hikmatul Awam Pilgrim Services, your pathway to a blessed journey.
Welcome to Faro Auto Investments, where luxury meets perfection. Located at 92 Rivonia Road, Santon, on level 2 and level 3, our showroom is a sanctuary of opulence. Step into the realm of prestige as you explore our exquisite collection of luxury vehicles, meticulously curated to meet the highest standards of quality and sophistication. But that's not all. Introducing Origins by Faro, our sister company dedicated to offering affordable luxury vehicles without compromising on quality. Experience elegance within reach. Ready to embark on your journey to luxury? Contact us today at 011 444 9460 or email us at info@farogroup.com for more information. Ramadan Mubarak to all our valued customers. Faro Auto Investments and Origins by Faro, where luxury is a lifestyle.
Rejuvenating media day by day. This is Salam Media.
Welcome back. It is exactly 8:29 a.m. News and Views on Salam Media. My guest is Dr. Iraj Abedian. He is an economist based in South Africa. We are talking about the explosive situation in the Middle East. He's an economist, but as we all know, economists are so intertwined with political situations all around the world. They need to be political analysts as well as economists, just to keep their eyes on the ball and to be able to predict and give us a fair understanding of world markets. So that's what we are unpacking on the show this morning. Do hope that you are enjoying the discussion. Welcome back, Dr. Iraj, and of course the all-important questions. Cryptocurrency, I just read in some report a week or so ago suggesting that the prices are going through the roof. I don't understand how it works, because in my mind, it's not linked to gold or any such thing. It just doesn't sound tangible enough to me. But you're the economist and you'd be able to give us a little bit of an understanding into this issue. Your thoughts on the rising prices, the skyrocketing prices of cryptocurrency?
Julie, to just put your mind at ease, you are not the only one who doesn't understand. The complication arises from the actual name. It's not a currency. The currency doesn't shoot up and shoot down as much as cryptocurrencies do. But be as it may, this inventors or creators of cryptocurrency, they've managed to push themselves on humanity by calling it a currency. Technically, from an economic point of view, definition of money, these instruments are not currency. And if they were currency, they would have shut down the global economy. For a simple reason, if they were currency and let's say, for example, Bitcoin, look at the price of Bitcoin from the beginning to now. if they were currency, no single production could have taken place in any country of your choice, because no price could keep up with the price of crypto prices. So I think we need to understand them for what they are. Cryptocurrencies are categories of assets, like all other assets. They are not. They do not fulfill the attributes of the definition of currency. That's number one. Number two, we need to separate, at least in my mind, I separate two dimensions of cryptocurrency. There is one dimension which has to do with the technology of blockchain that creates certainty about the issuance of it, the certificates, the origin of it, etc., etc. That is phenomenally productive and developmental, taking science forward, science of not just in the financial sector, but also in all spheres of life, such as health and education and so on and so forth. So that I like as an economist. And to the extent that this category of asset is underpinned by the blockchain technology, it gives the holders of this asset certainty of the origin of printing this particular asset category, and also it provides control over supply, and therefore prices keep shooting up, because those who create it, they don't link it to gold or silver or any other short supply or supply under control. They control it themselves. But be as it may, there is an element to this crypto asset class, and as you can see, I resist calling it currency, that is hugely problematic. The amount of energy that the mining of crypto assets consumes is phenomenally destructive. And that is an issue that's often neglected in the socio-political discourse or policy discourse or public policy discussions. So my view is that treat it for what it is. If you want to use it, you're taking a position on shares of a particular company, or gold or silver or copper or platinum, this is another category of assets. And you may make a lot of money and be prepared for losing it overnight. So it is not something that yet in the global market can be fully integrated to the production processes. Its total cost of production is not borne by those who hold it. And therefore, there are a lot of unresolved issues, and its side effects on the environment is not yet by any stretch of imagination internalized. In other words, those who hold these assets make money from it. They impose a lot of emission into the air that you and I and other human beings who have nothing to do with crypto have to pay for. So that's my view on it. So do not call it currency, hold it as an asset. And if you're holding it, be very careful that in your portfolio, you hold the right proportion of it. Do not overexpose yourself if you don't want to miss out on the upside of these assets.
My final question then, we have overrun, so I'll just try and keep it very short. Regarding the aging populations in Europe and our current global situation in the Middle East, how is this all going to play out? And all of those displaced people, not only in the Middle East, but in Africa as well. And we're assuming these are young people. If they migrate to the West, do you think that that might solve the situation around aging populations and the future of those countries?
Absolutely. The aging population is not just a European phenomenon. The highest hit or the hardest hit nation from aging population is Japan, Europe, and then increasingly China. So the aging population is interrelated with those nations who want to be xenophobic. They do not recognize the unity of humankind. And for some or other reason, cultural, political, ideological, for whatever reason, they do not want to allow foreigners into their land, whether to get married or to become a citizen and so on and so forth. So I think the aging population is a serious issue that is increasingly going to affect roughly in the next decade, roughly about 40% of humanity. And that simply China added to Japan, added to Europe. And of course, Americans increasingly are becoming xenophobic. They used to be an open arm nation, bringing people in. But now, as the social tensions and fractures emerge, they become more and more so-called autarkic. They don't want other people in, and if they want, they want to select them, whether they are white, whether they're not white, whether they are Christian, whether they're Muslims, Buddhists, etc., etc. Canada, we've seen increasingly tightening the screws on immigration, which is a reflection of fear of this diversification of their nation and the tensions that come with it. So will it solve the problem by youth moving from Middle East going to Europe? It will solve the immediate issue, which is a shortage of human power, so to speak. And I don't want to call it manpower, but it's an issue. We see, for example, UK stopping foreigners coming in. Now they've got delivery of truck drivers and plumbers and electricians. It's really as simple as that, but very consequential. So what's the point I'm making is that there is a bigger issue, 21st century issue, that the unity of humankind, respect for human beings of all gender, of all ideological, religious, cultural variations, need to be juxtaposed with the quest for peace and stability and mutual or multilateral respect. Unless that issue is openly discussed, so that we do not see Latin Americans as fear for North American or Middle Eastern, a fear for European, or vice versa. Remember, this is a multilateral thing. It's not that one party is guilty. Everybody feels superior for some or other reason. The concept of superiority begins with the acknowledgement of the equality of men and women, which is 50% of the population, at least, of the globe, must be open discussion in order to deal with the underlying force that reflects itself in the aging population in some segments of humankind.
And that's where we leave it. Fascinating talking with you this morning. I do hope to have future discussions with you. Thank you indeed, Dr. Iraj Abedian, economist based in South Africa. And time for us to move on. Thank you indeed. It is exactly 8:38 on News and Views this morning.